Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Duellum Final Fantasy video, and today we are going to do a little community response here. So on my video here, we have 100 comments, so I figured this is a good time. So this is a response to my previous video talking about the official reveal of the game. So what we're going to do is we're just going to get a feel for like how the community is feeling about this game after seeing that information. But before I hop into it, because I keep forgetting to do it at my videos, I do just want to mention that if you are interested in this game, you want to keep up to date with it, definitely like my videos, subscribe for more. And then the big thing is I do have an established Discord already from Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. So I've got an established Discord with like 600 plus people in it. So if you are interested in talking more about this game, theorizing about the game, getting into it as we play, definitely join my Discord. It is in the description of all my videos. So without further ado, let's hop into these comments. So we'll just jump right in here. So Zari8 Along says, lightning be like, time to slay for Gucci. Yeah, because of the modern clothes. It's been kind of like mixed, I would say, views on like the clothing choice. The thing is like, I actually like the modern clothes. I think they look really cool. But if you don't like it, we already saw on the website that they are going to have their original outfits. Now, we don't know how to obtain them at this point and if they will have stats tied to them, but the characters will have original outfits available. So if you don't like the modern clothes, I think you're gonna have the option to change that potentially, right? Sports Gaming says, honestly, I just missed the combat at DFFOO. Loved how it works so much. Me too. And I will say that I don't think the combat in this is going to match that for sure. There will be obviously similar mechanics in terms of the Brave, but when kind of like sifting through the information again, it does really seem like you kind of do a phase, like a Brave building entire phase where like you're fighting smaller mobs, and that's where you're building your Brave, and then you go in and fight the boss, and you're just using that, you're just dumping all the Brave in that fight. I don't think you're actually going to be like Brave gaining as much during the boss fight. I don't know. We'll see how that works. Let's see here. Oh yeah. So Kim Gould says the character with the pose is Clive. Yeah, we talked about that in my video yesterday. I agree. It is definitely Clive. Zari again says, I don't mean to sound pessimistic, but wasn't that long ago they canceled a Kingdom Hearts game. I know in general, like a lot of the negativity that we're seeing right now is because of how Square Enix has handled past gacha games. Obviously there's a whole slew of Final Fantasy games and other games that Square has done that they haven't lasted maybe as long as we've wanted, and they've kind of canceled on them, maybe made some poor choices. So just to prepare you guys, I mean, a lot of you know this, there will be a lot of negativity tied to maybe how Square has handled previous games. I personally, and I think I've talked about this, but I'm going into it with a very open mind. I will also at the same time be honest, right? Right now, I can say from what I see in the game, there's no like major red flags other than it. A lot of it is we're going to have to see how they handle the gacha system, because there are a lot of, I guess that would be the one red flag, is that there are a lot of potential things that they could be doing in a gacha system. We don't know for sure if all those things are going to be in there, between, you know, costumes, weapons, and then all of these artist abilities. There could be a lot of things that we need to summon for. We don't know though how the gacha system is going to work, and if all of those things need to be summoned. But that could be bad if there's too much gacha in it. But in terms of what I'm seeing in the actual gameplay, the art style, the characters, I'm very optimistic about it right now, but I won't really know until I actually play the game. So hopefully I get into the beta and then can actually play it. But I will be honest, like if I play it and I don't like it, I will tell you guys that. I'm not going to, like, Squex isn't paying me, I'm not endorsed, all that stuff. I will be honest about it, because something I've talked about in the past too is I'm a very busy person, and I'm not going to take time to cover a game I don't enjoy. Like if it's not worth my time to put effort into the game, I'm not going to cover it just to cover it. Like I'm not doing YouTube as my full-time job. So anyways, a little side direction there, but yes, because, you know, in the past there was the one Kingdom Hearts game that kind of went under. I don't even know how long it lasted. It was maybe like a 3-year game, something like that. But then, yeah, I think there was supposed to be another one that came out that never even came out. 64 Blaze says, I'm always hyped for new Final Fantasy games. Me as well, and that's what I think I'm just excited for, is that it's a new Final Fantasy gacha game, right? And part of it for me is I almost wonder if Square Enix, the reason why there were issues with the other ones, and I said this before, I think they oversaturated. Like they had too many Final Fantasy gachas going at the same time, and they were competing with themselves. And that is a huge problem. So what I'm hoping now is by kind of clearing the way, and like, you know, unfortunate, all of these games have gone end of service, right? I think what Ever Crisis, I think, is still going. That might be the only like Final Fantasy gacha that's still going. But because all of these other Final Fantasy games are pretty much gone at this point, right? My hope is that they're going to kind of put all of their effort into this one and not release other Final Fantasy games to compete with it. And maybe that is something that will help, because when you have too many Final Fantasy gacha games, you're dividing the audience. And you're dividing the funds, basically, where you could just be putting more effort into one game. In this, I was saying near the end of Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia, when that end of service got announced, this was one of the things I was theorizing, was maybe they're just trying to get like a clean slate of mobile games, like clean it all out. And then now that they understand the mobile market better, that they can just make a new one and kind of do it right. And that's the optimistic Joe was going to say, which I'm usually optimistic Joe, right? Is maybe that's what they're doing here. We'll see. Ragnarok says, poor Gaia, but weird deep cut from 14. Yeah, like I had no idea who Gaia was. She was part of an optional quest line from one of the expansions. That's crazy. So yeah, FF14 players may know Gaia, may not, but that was a really weird choice, I think. Because to me, I feel like, you know, Ishtola would have been, you know, Ishtola and Thancred, like those were kind of like the main faces of 14 that I'm used to. So yeah, to see Gaia, that's really crazy. Can't believe my favorite Dissidia content YouTuber is going to be back on track again. Can't wait for you to come out with more. Well, thanks, Wally. Appreciate that comment there. Well, Zari's in on all the comments. I didn't realize Zari's got a lot of comments here. Zari says the game's going to collide online, do a collab with Line or something to make emojis. It's possible. They do have like a text function in there, right? Colby Daphne says, I'm sad the old one got canceled, but I'm more excited to see you on this game. I'm ready for this. I am ready for it as well. Zari, once again, the art style is giving you the idea of modern Atelier games. Yeah, I could see that. We're going to try to get some other people here. Bronco Game says, I just want this to be a classic turn-based game. Yeah, if it were my way, like every role-playing game would be turn-based. Like that's what that's what I'm totally into. So yes, I probably would like this better if it was turn-based, but I think that this might be like, if it's a simple action game, once again, they're designing it for mobile, and the fact that they're not even putting on PC, I hope that they have that in mind, that they're designing this to be easy to play on mobile. Because one of the reasons I stopped playing Genshin Impact was because it was too hard to play on mobile. And I don't sit down at my computer enough to keep up with the dailies and stuff, or sit in front of my console to do that. So this game needs to feel good to play. And something I mentioned before is, like, if it's something akin to Dragon Ball Legends, where you're really just looking at choosing attacks and button presses, while the game is action, you might swipe once in a while to dodge, something like that. I could see this being something like that. I could even see this being something where maybe it doesn't even have dodging. It's just action in the sense that the boss just doesn't wait for you. So in a sense, this game could be turn-based, where like you're just pressing buttons to select attacks. It's just that you're not technically taking turns, but it's the same process you would be doing in a turn-based game. That's kind of what I am hoping for. We'll see. That being said too, like sometimes I'm negative about a game that isn't turn-based, but then when I play it, I actually end up liking it. An example was I just picked up the new Pokemon ZA, and I wasn't going to get it because I didn't like, you know, all the videos. It seemed a lot more action based. The characters are like jumping and rolling around, dodging attacks, whatever. And I was like, I don't know, man. I like my Pokemon to be turn based. But then I did pick it up and I played it for a really long time yesterday. And I really enjoyed it because all the Pokemon attacks are basically just on cooldowns. So essentially your Pokemon is just like picking a character with 4 different attacks. And when your Pokemon is engaged with the other one, your character doesn't really have to worry about running around and dodging. It's just if the Pokemon aggroes the player character, then you have to dodge a little bit. But it kind of is interesting because it makes a lot of Pokemon moves that in the past were useless actually kind of cool. For example, like Fire Spin was like really awesome in this game. Normally I don't like those attacks that do damage every turn because they're too slow. But in this game, you're literally putting down a wall of fire, and if the enemy sits on it, they're just taking a bunch of tick damage, and then you can still like do other attacks. Anyways, that was a big side tangent, but just as an example, for someone who loves turn-based games, sometimes something that leans a little bit more action can actually be good, and I'm actually really enjoying the new Pokemon, and so that could happen with this, Dissidia Duellum game, right? We'll see. This was Zen Creo guessing characters, but we talked about that yesterday. I think we got that labeled down. Let's see. Russell says, I'm worried about how much memory this is going to eat up on my phone. GameWagsDFFOO will always be my proverbial first love, but since then I found a couple other games I really like that would be extremely loath to part with, especially for memory purposes. Yeah, it just depends on like what you have on your phone. I guarantee this isn't going to be like a Star Rail or Genshin size game. I think it's going to be similar in size to like an Ever Crisis game. So once again, just depends on where your phone is at. Depending on when you've upgraded, I mean, the next time you get a phone, like every time I upgrade my phone, I try to like double the memory of my previous phone because everything has just become so much more taxing on a phone in general. So like getting more memory definitely helps. But yeah, hopefully it's not too big at least to start, so you can at least try it. And then if you really like it, then you can kind of figure out how you work out your memory issues. Blue says he'll give it a go. I'm going to give it a go as well. Matt Drift says so far they're focused on mainline Final Fantasy and first representative of each series. So yeah, he's going through and labeling who he thinks the ghosts are. Let's see. He has Furion, Onion Knight, which we said, Riku, Iroha, Balthier, and Clive. So yeah, he's got all the same guesses as me. And I will say this, I made a comment on my previous video. I misinterpreted the image. So Balthier, it looks like he's holding a sword, but it's actually Riku's arm. And what I had to do was I had to go back and watch the video of it because they show the characters come in, and you clearly see that that's just Riku's arm. Just the way that image looked, it was so weird. It looked like he was just holding a sword and pointing it towards Riku. But yeah, so it's definitely Balthier because he wasn't even holding a sword. That was Riku's arm. So yeah, we'll throw that out there. Let's see here. Dice Boy just telling us that that's Gaia. Yes. Violence for Breakfast says, thought it was going to be an upgraded version of DFFOO. Never mind. So yeah, don't get, once again, I've said this from the beginning, don't expect it to be DFFOO 2. It is going to be different. But if you like Final Fantasy, I think, here's the thing I would say to anybody that's maybe like a little hesitant or like not sure. If you're a fan of Final Fantasy, I think it's worth at least trying. It doesn't hurt to try. It's free to play, free to download. And if you don't like it, just delete it, right? That's the thing. And I would say that for anyone that's being maybe a little pessimistic. I know a lot of people are nervous about like supporting or investing into a Squex game right now because we talked about how they've handled a lot of the previous games. They've had a lot of end of service games. But I would say just don't spend money on it. Give it a try. Nobody's making you spend money on it. And then once you really, if you decide you really like the game, that's when you might consider spending money. But nobody's required to spend money. And I usually recommend people try not to spend money on gacha games. Obviously, some people have to for it to succeed. But a lot of times, depending on, you know, what the model is like, whales can carry a game. There can just be a few whales out there that spend a ton of money, and then not everybody has to, right? Let me see. JJ Mack is just talking about the other characters. Gomez Adam says, if it's open arena combat, the mobile controls are going to be trash. And I agree with that. So I hope that, once again, it's just very simplified and I don't have to physically run around. The other thing we haven't really talked about is, like, you have teams of 3, right? But you obviously can only control one character at a time. What I think it is, when we looked at the screenshots, they had, like, I think it was 5 ability buttons. I think all of those buttons are just attacks for all of your characters. So my guess is that, like, when I press a button, it'll just auto switch to that character and then that character will attack. That's what I think is going to happen. And something that I feel good about is that they did describe it as simplified controls. So I'm hoping that they're on top of that and they understand that, you know, this is what a gacha game is going to be doing, right? Our phone game, that it's got to control like a phone game, right? All right. Bible Man just talking about the silhouettes. Naldo says the gameplay looks similar to the game I was playing. I forgot the name, but it had currency that was hard to get. Yeah, in terms of, this is another thing for me that can determine whether I like a gacha game or not. How grindy is it going to be to max out a character and to get currencies that you need within the game? Models I do not like are where characters are way too hard to max out. A game I'll give an example of was War of the Visions Final Fantasy, which recently was an end-of-service game as well. I absolutely adored the artwork of that game. I love tactics-based games. Like, there was like no reason I should have disliked that game, right? Like, it's so much of it was things that I loved. And to the point where, like, I think I quit it like 2 or 3 times and kept trying again. Because I'm like, it doesn't make sense why I don't like this game. Because the artwork is probably the best Final Fantasy artwork I've ever seen in a series. And once again, I like the gameplay, I like the tactics style, all that. But what it kept coming back to was I always felt so far behind in terms of like, I would literally play the game for like 2 weeks hardcore, like grinding a ton, and I never once even got one character maxed out in that game. So it was way too frustrating. And the other thing that's really frustrating about a game like that is that it has so many characters, and it's really going to be that grindy to get them like, yeah, that's where I was kind of done. It didn't really respect my time. And that's going to be a big thing with this is the game going to respect my time? This is why, I quit playing Dokkan Battle, was because the link leveling is just, I'm just always so pressured to link level, and I've just felt like I was spending way too much time on Dokkan Battle. And yes, I don't have to link level, but I'm the type of player that I'm kind of all in or all out on. So if I have Dokkan on my phone, I'm always going to be tempted to click it. Like if I have nothing going on, or if like my phone isn't doing anything, I always felt like my phone had to be on link leveling, because otherwise I was wasting an opportunity. And I didn't like what that was doing to me. So I quit Dokkan for that reason, right? Exegetti, what's up, my guy? You could always just run BlueStacks. Yeah, so something I talked about in the video was I was really disappointed because I want to do the beta, but I only have iOS and the beta's on Android. But a couple people have suggested to me to just download BlueStacks, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to download BlueStacks, and then if I get selected for the beta, I'm sure that there'll be some communication, but I'm going to have to find out if they're going to allow content creators to cover it or not. But if they are, I definitely want to cover the beta and like show you guys the gameplay and stuff. That would be awesome. If not, I'll just play it on my own, and I will tell you what I'm allowed to tell you about the game, right? We'll see. At least like through playing the beta, I'll have a better idea of how much I'm going to like the game and how seriously I'm going to want to cover the game, right? And maybe I would at least be able to tell you guys that, where like maybe I wouldn't be able to tell you details, but I could just tell you how I feel about it, right? Mill5350 says, my interests are piqued. I love the idea of seeing Final Fantasy characters in a modern Japanese setting with original story. I really hope the story is good, the gameplay is fun, the dailies aren't tedious, and that the game isn't too grindy. I agree with like all of those things. And that's what I was talking about with the respecting my time. I hope it's not too grindy. I hope they make the characters reasonable to like kind of get maxed out, right? The grind got me to quit Ever Crisis despite how much I like the story. I really hope they hold back on the grinding and allow it to be more casual. I have a life and other games to play, can't be glued to auto grinding. Yep, exactly. And this is my problem with Dokkan, is I just hated the link level grind. So, yep. The other thing with Dokkan, not even the link level grind, but like the, gosh, I'm already like that fuzzy on it. The content that like the one fight takes like 3 hours to complete, like the one that's like 80 phases or whatever, or it takes you like 80 plus turns to beat. And they have like missions to that, and they're adding new missions. Like, I hate committing 2.5 hours to a run and then dying at the end of something stupid. Like, I hate that on Dokkan. Like, that is so, like, that is not respectful of my time. I definitely like having longer fights for like characters to stack, but not that long, dude. Like, that's, yeah. That's kind of like with DFFOO too. The fights that players complained about the most had too many mechanics and were too restricting and took like 45 minutes. And then if you got like, typically like the fights are always fine until like the very end, and then one dumb mistake you die and you just hate that. So DFFOO to me was really good when the fights typically were about 10 to 15 minutes. That's like kind of the sweet spot for me, right? Naldo says it looks interesting, hopefully not too much pay to win. I agree. One thing I will bring up is a lot of people are worried about the PvP aspect of it. The way everything I'm seeing right now is that the quote-unquote PvP, it's just your team and another player's team are fighting the same boss, and it's just you're kind of competing to see who can beat the boss first. So if that's really all the PvP is going to be, I actually don't mind that, because it's actually you're doing a co-op, and then there's just kind of like a fun little side bet to say like who can win first. And my guess is like the thing that you hate about PvP, right? It's like when one player is directly fighting another player, and other players are just way better at the game than you, and they just kill you, and then you just lose, right? Whereas in this game, the way I'm thinking it's going to be, you're kind of fighting more on a cooperative level, and even if the other players are better than you, you're still killing the boss, and I assume you still get rewards. It's just maybe you get better rewards if you beat the other player. And I think that would be a really nice, healthy way to do PvP, because it encourages technically co-op play, which is something I really want in a game like this. Like, something I loved about DFFOO is that it had co-op. It's just the way they integrated co-op, it was literally like you're kind of just doing mindless grinds, and they weren't that difficult. So to make co-op kind of integrated into like these main boss fights where you're both fighting, I don't know, I think it might be really good. I'm actually like kind of optimistic about the PvP of this game, because I hate PvP and I don't want PvP in my games. But I think if that's all it is, I think that's going to be fine. It's going to more or less determine how the reward system turns out. Now, if it's, you know, the co-op PvP like I'm thinking, but like the player who doesn't defeat the boss faster, if they literally get no rewards, then I'm going to hate it. Because then it is going to be like pay to win and the other player's always winning, and that's going to be dumb. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm waiting on my Onion Knight, Louis Auguste says. Yep. Yeah, I think that is Onion Knight in the teaser, and he's definitely wearing like a baseball cap, right? ZX4772 says, I feel like this is a Star Ocean mobile, but with Final Fantasy characters. Yeah, you must be talking about the Star Ocean Animesis game, and I remember I really liked that game. I don't know that this is going to be... I think it's going to be different than that. It's been a while since I played Animesis, obviously, because that went into service a while ago, but I feel like this is going to be different. I think it's going to be better. Solid Sake says it's not Riku, it's Pain. I would be willing to bet a lot that is Riku. And I showed it in my video yesterday that she clearly has like the knuckles on her hand. So yeah, it's definitely Riku. Hax Hunter says still mobile. Like, yeah, he doesn't like that it's mobile. I know a lot of people are looking for a mainline console game, which I get that. Like, I'm all for that as well. I like mobile games, so I'm actually not disappointed it's on mobile, and I've actually been waiting for a new Final Fantasy mobile. But if you specifically like the Dissidia series and wanted a new Dissidia console game, like, yep, unfortunate. Not to say they still couldn't do one, right? Wonder if they'll do English dub. They probably won't. It said Japanese voices on the teaser site, so I'm guessing it'll be all Japanese. Ryan Horton says this is going to be a game they drop in 6 months after the player base drops off. Yeah, and that's kind of like, once again, a lot of players are pretty pessimistic about it based on how Squex has handled their games. Like I said, I don't think it hurts. Like, if you like Final Fantasy and the game looks interesting, even if you think the game is going to go end of service right away, I don't think it hurts just to try it. You don't have to spend money. And if you don't like it, just delete it, right? Thomas says, I'm excited, but I'm hoping it's not as pay to win as Ever Crisis. Looks cool, but the way they've been going lately, yeah, exactly. Let's see here. Kool-Aid Ninja, what's up, my guy? Hey, Joe, hoping we can collaborate on this one, seeing we're close together. Definitely hit up the Who Hot. Yeah, we'll have to do that sometime for sure. Kool-Aid Ninja lives in my neck of the woods here. Fourth Gen Gaming says, is this going to cure my longing for Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia? Maybe. I think it's going to scratch the itch a little bit, but it's definitely not going to be a replacement. Like, it's not going to be like a direct replacement in terms of the same type of game, but it's going to be a replacement in terms of it's our new Final Fantasy gacha, so we're just going to have to see how it looks, right? Edict says, Edict 1989, man, this looks so good, but I don't want to invest time and money into another mobile game that will most likely get shut down. They shut down all the favorites. Yeah, and he lists all the ones there. So yeah, once again, like I said, I know that's what people are worried about. Like, should I invest time and money into this game? I would recommend not spending money on it until you are sure that you like it. And then if you like it enough, then, you know, spend to, you know, however you'd want to spend on a gacha game. But I do think it is worth at least just downloading and trying, maybe for, even if it's just for one day. And then once again, if you hate it, just delete it, right? Florante, what's up, Florante? Silhouette is Riku. I think it is Riku. Yes. Let's see here. 40. So Broadway Saiyan's on here. Ready for some pull battles? Heck yeah. So I think 40 and I are probably going to do some collabs here. Broadway Saiyan, if you're not familiar with him. We've been in a chat group. So right now, I'm in a chat group with Mark from the Crystal Chronicles. Lids, who you guys, if you're DFFOO, you know Lids, and then 40 and myself are all in this chat group. So it sounds like Lids and Mark are not going to do YouTube on this, which is totally cool, but it sounds like 40 wants to do some collabs, so we'll probably do some. I think that'll be fun. Let me see. Turn-Tape Over says, the official trailer is getting demolished by the comment section and the like and dislike ratio. From what little we saw, it's going to be a competitive battler with an auto button. For those who don't know what this means, it's going to be a speed clear auto battler competition. If you don't see where this is going, let me spill it for you. This is going to be a heavily pay to win game where the person who wins is the one who wailed the hardest over units. So once again, I get what you're saying here, and this definitely could be it. I'd say we have to see, there's a couple of things we have to see. We have to see what the gacha overall looks like. Because for all we know, right, like best case scenario, all the gacha stuff is just outfits that don't affect gameplay. That could be really cool. I doubt they'll do just that. But we don't know what the effect of winning and losing these kind of, these PvP battles is going to be, right? Once again, it's players versus boss. We don't know what the effect of winning and losing does, so that's going to be a big impact on it. Because it could be to the point where, like, yeah, if you win, you get a little bit bonus. Maybe it's something like you're doing a boss to get, like, a drop, right? And maybe the winner gets double the rewards and the loser gets regular rewards. I'm fine with that. It's like they just get to do it a little bit faster. And then as you're grinding, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. So sometimes you get double, sometimes you get regular. That would be fine. Now, if it is like the winner gets exclusive stuff that the loser doesn't get, and that's the only way to get it, then it could suck, right? So I'm not going to judge the PvP until I see it. And I'm not going to call it pay to win. And I'm not going to call it not pay to win either, until I actually see what it looks like. So, but I get the skepticism there, right? And that's always the big thing with PvP that people don't like, is if it's PvP and pay to win, yeah, people hate that, right? And some games have that. Let's see here. Games Hunter says it's Gaia. Yeah, a lot of people are clarifying that it was Gaia because I didn't know. But a lot of people, like, the moment I said I didn't know what it is, they clearly went into the comment section and typed it, because literally like a minute later, I'm like, oh, I looked it up. It's Gaia, right? So yeah, just explaining that. Man, dude, Zari, you are the comment king over here. I hope you comment on all my videos, man. Give me all those comments. I'll take it. Christian J says no Cecil. Yeah, no Cecil. He's definitely a character that will come, for sure. He's definitely mainline enough. Okay, I'll answer this one for Zari, my guy who's commenting every 5 seconds here. How would team comps work? So it's very clear. It says 3v3, so you're going to do teams of 3. And like DFFOO, that's going to be the exact same as DFFOO. So what I'm going to predict is that a team comp, you're probably going to want a healer slash support. I think you're going to want a healer character, some type of support or debuff character, and then like a DPS is probably what you're going to have. But I think you're for sure going to want DPS and healer, and then that third slot will be like, the agile speed clarification, or some type of other like support character is probably what a team comp's going to look like. There are some interesting things, though. I will point this out. I believe when I read Terra's abilities on the website, something talked about like it speeds up the ability for fire attacks. So a team comp, maybe you do something where everybody is fire based, right? And so like there might actually be more of an incentive to do like elemental based teams, things like that, based on like making things charge faster. So that could be interesting, right? Cyclops was right, says I'd rather have Final Fantasy Tactics 2. Tactics 2 would be sick. I would take it, right? ZY says, note for everyone, this company is good at single-player games, but for gachas, they are the worst. They have ended service for most of their popular games, like, and then lists a bunch of them there. And then it says, War of the Visions is still running in Japan. They couldn't provide their Western players a mitigation to JP servers, even after everything we put up with. So my advice is don't even play this and demand a real Dissidia game for consoles. So yeah, this is clearly like how a lot of players feel, right? And I'm not, like, you have every right to feel this way, right? And I'm guessing that you were probably a War of the Visions player and pretty upset about it. Like, anytime a game goes end of service, like, you're going to be upset, right? And the one thing that we have to remember is that this is the nature of a mobile game. No mobile game will last forever. Even games like Fate Grand Order and Dokkan, which have seemingly run forever and are still doing well, at some point they are going to end. Like, it will. It's just a matter of when. So it's just how long is the game going to last? So my suggestion is, if your attitude about a gacha game is it's going to go end of service at some point, why play it? Then yeah, you maybe just don't want to play mobile games anymore. That's maybe what you should do. But I like mobile games. I think they're fun. I like that they're convenient on my phone, typically quick and easy to play. It's a fun distraction to have when I'm bored. So I just go into it knowing, yeah, it's going to have end of service at some time, and I play it knowing that. I was fully invested in DFFOO and enjoyed it and loved it. I don't regret any money I spent on the game because I had a lot of fun with the game during that time, right? So, but yeah, if you don't like the gacha model or the mobile model, I would agree with ZY. Like, just don't download it. If you don't like the idea that a game could go end of service, then don't play it, right? But I'm going to go into, like, any gacha game, regardless of the company's history with it. Once again, I am someone that thinks that there are people out there that read comments that know our frustrations. I think, especially with the DFFOO community and like, Joshua from Square Enix, like he definitely like had a good handle on how we felt. And I think he did relay that information, but I think he only has so much control, right? Like he can relay the information, things like that. So my hope is that kind of whoever's in charge of this particular title, it will really take the community's feedback seriously and, do what they can to keep this a successful game, right? Stomp and Win says this is not a new Final Fantasy. Dissidia is not Final Fantasy. I mean, I would disagree because Dissidia literally it has Final Fantasy in the title. But I think maybe what you mean here is that it's not a mainline title, which I would agree with that. It's not Final Fantasy 1 through 16, right? But it's a spin-off series, so Dissidia is a Final Fantasy series. It has Final Fantasy characters in it. Anti-Fuju Morista says anime. I think you meant to say anime in Dissidia is very bad. I don't think that's bad. I love anime style. I think it's cool. Arden says this game will flop worse than Dissidia NT. We'll see. I mean, once again, it remains to be seen. We just got to see. A lot of it's gonna, we're gonna find out a lot during the beta, which will be in November. Because, like I said, from what I've seen, I'm optimistic about it. I am definitely interested, but it's going to come down to how the battle system actually controls. That's really what it's going to come down for me. So that's the most important thing, is the battle system has to feel good and enjoyable to play on mobile. And then once we get past that aspect, let's say we pass that test, then the next test is going to be kind of the gacha systems and how pay to win or not pay to win it is, how free to play friendly and not free to play friendly. That's kind of what I'll be looking at next to determine if I want to play it. And I would say the grindiness of it is up there as well, right? Gail Bog says big yikes. So he's not impressed. That's fine. Revolenster Boys says worst game ever. I mean, I think that's a little heavy-handed to say worst game ever. It's definitely fair to say that maybe you didn't like what you saw, sure. But worst game ever? I mean, we have E.T. on the Atari coming up and wondering about that one. I think E.T. on Atari has something to say about that one. I think that might be worst game ever, right? Okay, this Shinra guy is driving me crazy. He's on here. You can see there's 8 replies on here. This dude complaining that they're all sword characters. And I think only like 3 of the 10 characters were sword characters or something like that. I mean... Here, let's go look at it. I think I've got it pulled up here. Let's go look at the characters. How many of these are actually sword characters? Because we got it. And I think this is the last comment on the video. All right, so Warrior of Light is a sword character. Lightning is a sword character. Cloud is a sword character. So to me, those are the 3 actual sword characters. Terra, technically, yes, we could call her a sword character, but she's a mage, right? She wields a sword. So, okay, we could say 4 out of the 10, right? We've got Kane, spear, Kryl, staff. Renoa is like, what, throwing weapons, right? Zidane is dagger, which is not a sword. I'll fight you on that. Dagger is a dagger, a sword is a sword. Gaia, I think, is a staff, and Prompto's guns, right? So, what? So if we want to say 4 out of 10, if we're going to count Terra as a sword user, right? So 60% of the characters are not sword users, right? And then in that other video, I don't have it held up yet, but what in the other video, I think Onion Knight would be a sword character, Clive would be a sword character, Furion would be a sword character. So there's like 3, so like half of those at least would be sword characters, but it's not a majority. And to say all of them are sword characters, I think is unfair. And the other thing you have to keep in mind, this is the start of a brand new game, so they're going to want to get a good chunk of it are going to be like the main headline characters that are popular characters. Typically the main character in a Final Fantasy game usually starts with a sword. That's just kind of the standard weapon. So I would agree that it's the most commonly used weapon type here, but it's not the majority. So, and here's the other thing that I want to talk about, like, why is it such a bad thing that there are sword characters? Like, do you just hate swords? I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you also hate swords. But to me, it's more about the character and the abilities and what they're doing, and a majority of the characters aren't sword characters. So anyways, guys, kind of a mixed bag there, but I think there are definitely a lot of people that are excited about it, and I think there's probably an equal amount that are, like, skeptical. and maybe like not going to try it because they don't like what Squex is doing, you guys can let me know in the comments. If you didn't get in on this one, let me know your thoughts on Dissidia Duellum Final Fantasy. And remember, if you want to join my Discord, it is in the description of the video. And please like and subscribe if you want more content on Dissidia Duellum Final Fantasy. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.